Hannah Hauxwell is a daleswoman, a spinster, and the unlikeliest celebrity of her generation. 20 years ago, a television programme about her struggle to survive alone without electricity or even running water on an isolated farm endeared her to the nation. Even when she became a pensioner, she still stubbornly clung on to the only home she had ever known, Low Birkhat Farm in Baldersdale.
Nobody's ever lived here but our family.
But 4 years ago, Hannah Hauxwell had to surrender. Uncertain health and a succession of crippling winters forced the issue. Reluctantly, tearfully, she sold up and moved out. But there can be no doubt where her heart will always remain.
Whatever I am, and wherever I am, this is me.
Hannah began a long and complex period of adjustment to her new life. Her cottage has unaccustomed luxuries, such as water that comes at the turn of a tap. But she missed her farm and animals so much that the pain was almost tangible. She also had to deal with the pressures of living in a community and the demands of celebrity status. But Hannah coped, and one day she lifted her head and declared an ambition to travel.
I must confess I haven't travelled far, by some people's standards anyhow. I have been lucky enough to see more of the country during these last 2 years than I've ever seen before, and enjoyed it. For instance, until last year, the only time I'd been to the lakes was to Keswick with the chapel Sunday school trip just before the war. But I've never been on the sea. I never fancied going on a boat. The only time I've been on a boat to travel was from on the ferry from North Shields to South Shields. In the early days, the farthest I travelled was to Loch Lomond. It was a day, well, more than a day trip. Alec Howson took us from Barnard Castle. It was a brand new bus, I remember. And we went to Clove Lodge 6 o'clock one morning and got back at 4 o'clock the next. And he drove all the way there and back. But no one, we enjoyed it. We had we had a brew up when we got there. Oh, it's my passport.
Obviously then, Hannah, you've never had a passport before.
No, I haven't. No need to have one. Oh, it's quite exciting, really. No, passports were something that other people needed, not me.
These are your travelling clothes, I assume?
Yes, they are. Yes, it's very exciting, especially, this is the long dress. I've never worn a long dress before.
So the evening wear?
Yes, it is, and it's a lovely colour. I've never worn this colour before, but I like it. It's very fashionable this year too, so that's a change for me to be in the fashion for once in my life.
Yes, people will get quite a culture shock when they see Hannah Hauxwell in haute couture clothes.
Oh yes, I think they will. I'm afraid I don't know whether I'll be able to do them justice. But it's quite a change from me old rags, just for once, rather like Cinderella. Although as a approaching 65-year-old Cinderella, and I'm sorry I hadn't her small feet either. That would have been a blessing.
Oh, so what do you mean?
Yes. Good morning, Caroline.
Is that it?
Thank you.
you. Have a nice time.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Kelvin. If you could say there was anything good about it.
Not very nice at all, is it?
No.
Innocence is the underpinning factor of Hannah Hauxwell's personality. She's a maiden lady with all the Victorian virtues, and the style of her travel was to be shaped accordingly. 150 years ago, unmarried ladies with ambitions to travel were scorned as wayward women. Respectability was at hand, however, when excursions, by rail at first, were organised by the secretary of the Leicester Temperance Society, who offered the excitement of travel as an alternative to the tavern. Name of Thomas Cook, who went on to become the founding father of the travel industry. Because of his undeniable piety, maiden ladies flocked to him in petticoated droves. Among them, Miss Jemima Morell, Yorkshire-born like Hannah. She went on Mr. Cook's first personally escorted tour to foreign parts in 1863. Paris, first stop. Hannah planned to follow exactly the same route.
Yes, I would get lost here.
Well,
I would get lost here.
you're in good hands. I take care of you.
Oh, thank you. Oh, well, that's good, yes.
Victoria Station, London. For more than a century, the gateway to Europe. The ghosts of Miss Jemima and Thomas Cook must have been looking on benignly from the great vaulted roof.
Yes, thank you.
Since Miss Hannah had expressed a firm disinclination to board an aeroplane, the Victorian way of travel by boat and train was an inevitability.
I'm neither fly nor swimmer, and I'm not all that keen on the tunnel. I think so. The getting across, it'd be nice to go, but it's getting across. I mean, there's plenty of water to drown me 50 times over, but I think the shortest point would be tempting.
It's quite a boat, Hannah.
Oh, it is. Different altogether to what I'd thought it would be. Haven't even studied out how we get onto it yet. I have no idea what it'll be like. I'm just keeping fingers crossed and hope I won't be seasick. I can't cross my fingers even hardly on my head because my hat will go.
Have you prepared any sort of medication? Are you prepared for trouble?
Oh yes, I've travelling tablets and a lemon. It's a gypsy remedy, someone told me, to have a slice of lemon. So I've got my lemon with me. Thank you.
Are you flying?
Yes. I took my travel pills as a precaution. I hoped for the best. I didn't know what would happen. I just settled down and enjoyed it.
Crossing the Channel in Miss Jemima's day was distinctly hazardous for those of a delicate disposition. In her journal, Miss Jemima recommended
a specific for the malady, blackcurrant preserve and brandy.
As it turned out, Hannah's ferry met a force-7 gale.
Oh, yes.
You haven't been seasick at all?
So far, I'm
So far,
keeping
so
my
good.
fingers crossed.
Well, we're almost there now. So
Yes,
yeah.
it's exciting, the coast of France.
That's it, yes.
Stepping onto foreign soil for the first time. It was exciting. I think it was only when we were finally on the train to Paris that maybe it really sort of hit me more.
Do you know any French, Hannah? Can you converse in French?
No, I can't. Bonjour, and I'm not really sure. Bon voyage, we've had a good voyage. Au revoir, Monsieur, Madame, and Mademoiselle. I think that's about it. That's my limit. Although I think it's a nice language, even though I don't understand it. I think there's something very, I can't find the word to describe it, charming, musical.
Good girl, eh? Good. Good.
No, soda water.
Ah.
Please.
Perrier?
This might do, I don't know.
Water with gas.
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
More. Merci. Merci.
Thank you.
Au revoir, bonne fin de voyage.
Thank you.
Well, Hannah, here we are, France.
Yes.
What do you think?
There's no fences between the fields. That's a strange thing. But it's nice, it's pretty in its own way. And the little houses nestled amongst trees and beasties in the fields. Seeing what I think will be some Charolais and some Grecians. You see, all this is altogether different to our country. I wonder how they know who's belong to who.
Or the land, you mean?
Yes. It's just a whole stretch. There's nothing to distinguish.
No dry stone walls.
No, there isn't, no. I tried to keep awake because I didn't want to miss any of it. But at the end I couldn't. I was overcome and did go to sleep. Eventually, we arrived at our hotel called the George Sand. I would call it so George V, but never mind, George Sand. And it was a very grand place. Thank you very much. I've been in a hotel like this before because I Thank you. stayed at the Savoy in London. And very much alike, with the magnificent big sitting rooms and a lovely bedroom.
Through here's your salon.
Oh, fancy.
And just through
It's
here's your
lovely,
bedroom.
Isn't it? Oh, my word.
Okay. And on the right.
There's certainly a difference in this place and my bedroom at Low Burkhardt.
For the first 60 years of her life and more, Hannah was used to Spartan living of an extreme kind.
Would you care for anything I can get you?
A cup of tea, please.
Okay, I'll see to that right away.
Thank you.
Good evening, madam.
Good evening.
Your tea.
Thank you. Oh, that's lovely. I did ask for a cup of tea, and one it was sort of what one expected. But there was not only the cup of tea, but a trolley with it was a meal, and a nice one at that.
Miss Jemima Morell also ordered a pot of tea on arrival in Paris and recorded her reaction.
We sat in judgment for the first time on French tea, which we pronounced to be truly peculiar.
Not peculiar as Miss Jemima thought.
No, I don't think so. No, unless she had a more sensitive taste. No, it's quite right. It's very nice. Now, I do like, I'm finding the big cups, they suit me down to the ground. thing about Paris I'd always fancied was to walk along the Champs-Élysées. I'd always imagined it was straight, but it rises up to the Arc de Triomphe, which is magnificent looking up, and because it's on the skyline. And then the shops along the way, which are probably quite high prices. I didn't go in and buy anything anyhow. I'm a Yorkshire woman when all's said and done. The Opera House, that was lovely. One of the places I wanted to see. And it came up to my expectations and surpassed it even. That was one of the highlights. If it could speak, it would have some wonderful stories to tell, I feel sure. It did pass through my mind that all the famous people who'd performed there and the variety of people who would go to see and hear. The Louvre, of course, it's a huge place, unbelievably huge. I mean, he wanted a bus to go along a corridor. It was quite a trip to get to where the Mona Lisa was. Somebody has said, they see a resemblance between the Mona Lisa and me. I don't see it myself. I wouldn't mind being as well remembered as the Mona Lisa. Went to the Café de la Paix. We had tea and I think apple pie. They say that if you stay there long enough, you'll see the world go by.
A dinner cruise along the Seine, and Hannah's innocence is about to be, well, slightly compromised by an example of Gallic charm.
I hope you will drink my own wine. You see, it's a wine of my wife. We do that. We do this kind of wine in the south of France.
I don't drink any kind of wine.
It does not matter. I will serve you because you will show this kind of wine, which
It's a
is
shame to
much
open it.
older than the champagne.
Yes.
Champagne wine was made from the system we had in our country in the south.
Yes.
And that, now we serve it.
And not to offend, somebody from in another country or offend them with refusing their hospitality. I did just partake of a little. It wasn't unpleasant. The first time I've had alcoholic drink, only to please you.
They will help you to come back.
Thank you. Thank you.
Madam, enjoy your trip and have a good moment, and I see you when you come back.
It was lovely, the lovely boat and the nice gentleman who welcomed us to his boat. I know you can't always travel by slower methods. It would take a much longer time, but you have a better chance of seeing places, which we had. It was lovely. The lights on the water and the coloured lights from different boats. And then, of course, the lovely meal. And then seeing the buildings and all along. And the bridges. Quite a number of bridges. All interesting, beautiful architecture. The Notre Dame. wanted to see Notre Dame, which was floodlit and looked magnificent, and they played the Hallelujah chorus. Montmartre, I'd always imagined that as rather an exciting place. I had a cup of tea, but there wasn't many people round about. And it was so cold. It was supposed to be April in Paris, but it was more like January. I eventually had a gentleman paint my portrait. He looked quite a character, come to think of it. Quite a few people gathered round, and some recognised me, believe it or not. I don't know what nationality. We hadn't any, or really scarcely any words exchanged.
Apart from the chilly weather, how are you enjoying Paris?
Oh, very much, thank you. Yes, it's a beautiful place, and I am enjoying it. It's just a shame. It's an interesting place, this, if it hadn't been so cold. But of course, nobody can help the weather.
Is there anywhere else you'd like to see in Paris, Hannah?
Well, it would be nice to be near the Eiffel Tower, but it's not tempting to go up it. I'll not pretend. I've no head for heights, and nice to view it from the ground on my own 2 feet, or what I've already seen on the boat.
But it's almost obligatory for any visitor to Paris to go up the Eiffel Tower.
Yes. Well, maybe I shouldn't have come at that rate then.
Voilà. Vous êtes un bon modèle.
Oh, yes. That's very nice, although younger than I really am. It was quite a nice picture. Too flattering, I think, but it was quite a nice picture. The Eiffel Tower was one of the highlights of Paris, and it's a marvellous construction. But for me, it was all right down on Mother Earth looking at it. I hadn't really any great ambition to do more than that. I mean, only seeing pictures, you haven't really any idea till you get to it, how big it is. It's a little bit frightening, the thoughts of going up. I'm not a daring person, and I'm not one for heights. Eventually, I decided to chance it. Finally decided to give it a try. Just to the halfway mark, of course. Wouldn't like to have gone any further. I was very frightened to go near the edge, too far near the railings for a while. It was better after a while, and I was pleased I had taken a chance and plucked up courage to go, because the view was marvellous. And nice roomy platforms to stand on, and the view over Paris was lovely. Well, after I came down, it was all over. It was a little bit of a thrill that I'd done it. A little bit triumphant.
Germany, and the start of a trip down the Rhine to Switzerland. Bad weather continued to dog Hannah's progress with unseasonable temperatures.
Prosit, cheese. Thank you very much.
But the cruise was to be illuminated in unexpected fashion by another lady alone in the world. She spotted Hannah at the captain's reception. And the irrepressible Lisa Schneider took command of the situation immediately. For this leg of her journey, Hannah was following in the wake of a quartet of maiden ladies, the Mrs. Libby, Hattie, Lucilla and Marion Lincoln, daughters of a Norfolk gentleman of note. Together they determined to venture down the Rhine, despite deep misgivings.
'Tis true we encountered some opposition, one friend declaring it was improper for ladies to go alone. But one interview with Mr. Thomas Cook removed all our hesitation, and we forthwith placed ourselves under his care.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are now approaching the Lorelei Rock, which rises 430 feet above the river. As you probably know, there are many legends about this rock. The poets Brentano, Heine, von Eichendorff, and others have portrayed the Lorelei as a witch or a water nymph. In a moment, we shall be playing the famous Lorelei song for you. The words are by Heinrich Heine and the music by Friedrich Zilcher.
I understood there was a modern day Miss Lorelei up on the top. I believe she comes and makes an appearance for when special boats go past. They did make as much fuss as they could, perhaps. But there's nothing outstanding. It isn't as if there's one great huge rock and then on each side it's different, but so you don't really know it's there. It was a busy river, water traffic up and down, and then running alongside the railway you'd see tunnels in the hillside, and then the trains would appear. And so it was a fascinating river. There's so many things. I think the hillsides covered with trees and the castles. Perched on the hilltops, you think it's a wonder they don't fall off sometimes. And the little houses, well, not always so little, but the houses by the river. The vineyards, some so steep, I don't know how they get to them, never mind to cultivate them. And the great broad river itself.
Hannah's friendship with Lisa Schneider continued to blossom, despite a certain problem of communication.
But where is your home?
In Germany.
Yes. And what part?
Düsseldorf.
Yes.
Yes. Solo.
Yes. You have lovely clothes. You have lovely clothes. Your clothes are lovely. Yes. Mm.
Yeah. Sempre.
Yes.
Sempre. Paris.
Paris.
Sempre.
Ah, yes. You're 80, aren't you, I think?
What?
Did you say you were 80? You are...
Wie Jahre?
80, yes. Yes. Beautiful. Yes.
You are noch Temperamente.
Oh, no, very good.
Temperamente.
Very good, yes. Mm. Yes.
Ja.
They say you're as old as you feel, don't they?
Ist gut.
Yes.
Du auch bezahlt.
Yes. It is.
Ja. Ist gut, ja. Skål.
Skål? Oh, I'm sorry. It's all right. It'll go on again. So first on Sunday night, just after we came on board, and she smiled and bowed, and I liked her then. And so we, in spite of me not knowing any German, and I don't think her English is really, you know, a lot better. You know, we've got along wonderfully well.
And by the time the boat reached Heidelberg, the pair were inseparable.
We made a trip to Heidelberg, went by coach, and we went up to the castle.
Wieder laufen. Wir sollen wieder laufen. Ja.
It's really lovely, and had the good companionship of Lisa, which was very nice and was the highlight of the boat trip. She tried to explain what Heidelberg was about, things about it. But of course, when you don't understand the language, that's rather a shame. But anyhow, we got by.
Oh, that's a big bump. Ja, geht langsam. Geht langsam. Immer langsam. Piano, piano.
There's a dry place for feet. That's right. Yes.
Oh, guck mal da unten.
Oh, yeah. It was lovely. The kind of place you could spend a lot of time in. And the houses, different designs, but they don't look ugly. Yes. Yes. And a bit further for you. I understand that Mark Twain came to Heidelberg and wrote An Innocent Abroad, which is quite a coincidence, isn't it? Lisa talks and I have no idea what she's saying, only odd things. But no, I haven't a clue, really. I say yes, and yes and no, and hope only hope I'm saying them in the right places so as not to, you know, give offence or be hurtful at all. We like each other. We seem to, you know, something works together, the magic works, and it hasn't been a barrier to making a lovely friendship.
Hannah's Rhine voyage ended at Bâle, where she was to pick up the trail of Miss Jemima Morrell once again. Lisa had booked a stay for the entire trip. It was to be a long farewell.
Bleib gesund. Ich genieße als Gröber dich. Und ein netterer und alles.
We'll write.
Ja, yes. Was hast du denn da? Was ist das denn?
For you.
Was ist?
Yes, that's for you.
Oh.
Look after yourself.
Was bringst du denn da alles noch mit? Hast gut gesehen. Goodbye, Anna. Goodbye, Anna.
It's been lovely meeting her, and you know, I'll always remember her. It's, you know, helped to make the trip, lovely as it was already, but helped to make the trip on the boat special.
Miss Jemima, who could turn a phrase or three, was quite overcome by her Alpine experience as she continued with Mr. Thomas Cook on his first foreign venture in 1863.
Crossing the threshold of Switzerland, we entered on a line of scenery that bewildered us by its beauty. Oh, that the retina could be enamelled with the grandeur of that matchless landscape.
Miss Jemima was particularly enthused about Saint-Martin, a tiny village perched at a considerable height, even for Switzerland. Miss Hannah proceeded to consider the same view which had entranced her predecessor well over a century before.
It's quite a view, Hannah.
Oh, yes, it is. It's like being on top of the world here, and not even quite, because it's much higher around where we can see. Wouldn't like to live here.
Miss Jemima wrote that someone had assured her that the view here alone was worth the journey from London. Do you agree?
No, not really, not this particular part. It's Windy Ridge here. I don't know about the person who assured her, but there's no accounting for tastes, as they say. No, I don't know how she'd been a brave lady to come, and with horse-drawn vehicles, not the comfort or the speed of modern-day travel. But think of some flighty horses in a carriage if they decided to jump the wrong way. No, she was very brave to come. The road isn't so wide and the steep edges. Some not protected very much at all in parts.
Some steep drops.
Oh, there is,
Thousands
yes.
of feet in places.
Yes, we have to go back down again, haven't we, from here?
Yes. You prefer to be in the valley?
Yes, down in the bottom, yes, that's me. He that is low need fear no fall.
But high places are unavoidable if you wish to do justice to Switzerland. Hannah's switchback tour of the Alps progressed to the glories of Interlaken. But she tended to look down rather than up.
But Hannah, most people think that this is the most beautiful part of Switzerland. This is the Bernese Oberland, and over there, although slightly obscured, there's the Eiger and the Jungfrau.
Yes.
What do you think?
Oh, I like it, yes. I mean, the mountains, I've heard of the Eiger, and I don't know about the other place. But no, I like there again, the trees and the hills covered with trees and the water. And of course, all this is pretty in the bottom.
Oh, that's Interlaken down below, in between
Yes.
the two lakes.
Yes, I like it. It appeals to me. The birds singing, and it's a lovely place. And there's always a place with me, special place with me if there's water, having lived by the water. I always found solace and comfort and with the water, even, as I've said, when the times when things weren't so good, I would come down here and to what I call my beloved Mississippi and Hunderbeck. I am happier through that iron gate, through here, than in my own fields. And the beauty, there's nowhere like, to me, there's nowhere like it, and never will be. And whatever I am, and wherever I am, this is me. I like the water, but it's really lovely. How beautifully green. It's like a carpet, dotted with houses.
Hannah, look, the clouds are clearing. You can see the Eiger now.
It's funny how the mist or the clouds come down. And,
Well, that's magnificent, isn't it?
yes. Yes, it has a certain magnificence.
Higher and higher went Hannah, hot in pursuit of Miss Jemima. This time to the Mer de Glace, 6,000 feet above sea level. The journey began in Chamonix, a town dominated by the bulk of Mont Blanc, Europe's highest peak. And the mountain railway rises at an acute, somewhat unnerving angle.
But Hannah, we're following in the footsteps of Miss Jemima again. How do you feel?
Well, I wouldn't have followed Miss Jemima's footsteps. No, don't really like it a lot. I don't like this, you know, coming up the hillside anyway.
This is quite a train, isn't it? Quite.
Oh yes, it's wonderful, and the track, how it's made. It's just that I like to have my own 2 feet on firmer ground, not up in the skies on a hillside.
Well, as you can see, we're quite high now. The snow is deep.
Yes, I wouldn't go anywhere to see the snow. I've seen plenty of it over the years. There's something in my very bones that rebels when the bitterness comes, the snow and the cold and the bitterness. No, I hate it. That's the only expression for it. I know there's a certain beauty which is very nice, but it doesn't appeal to me because I detest it so.
But snow and ice certainly appealed to Miss Jemima, who wrote,
How strange, how incongruous it felt on that hot summer's day to be crunching ice under our feet.
But even Miss Jemima's breathless prose was unable to overstate the beauty of the Mer de Glace.
No, I don't like the snow. I hate it, in fact. If I don't mind, I want to live, but if I never saw any snow again, it wouldn't worry me.
So people come from all over the world for this site.
Yes.
But, obviously, you're distinctly unimpressed.
Yes, I doubt. You know, as I've said, I'm grateful to be here. I mean, I'm lucky to be here and have the privilege of seeing these places, which I never would. It's interesting to see them, but it's not my kind of beauty.
Miss Jemima ventured down to the frozen sea and found herself
looking down yawning crevices, showing 100 feet of their blue and crystal-lined jaws.
There is a path down there.
Yes.
Do you fancy going to see what Miss Jemima saw?
No, that's a pleasure I'll be very pleased to forego. A doubtful pleasure. I think she was probably a bit younger than I am and certainly more adventurous.
So you'll pass on that trip down to the crevices then?
Oh, yes, I will, unless there's no other way back.
Leukebad, a spa resort in an isolated corner of the Swiss Alps, where since Victorian times and well before, people have sought cures for rheumatic conditions. Hannah suffers from rheumatism, a direct consequence of the harsh life she once led. But it's the first time in her life she's been in any deeper water than a standard bathtub.
A bit funny. It's the warm water's lovely, yes. But just, you know, I've never been in this depth of water before. You know, it's like going away with you.
What's the heal rheumatism?
Yes, well, that's good. I hope it does.
Try all the bubble ones over there later.
I don't know. I don't go any further because makes me feel swimmy. I'm frightened I lost my footing.
Well, you've got a smile on your face. You look as though you're enjoying it.
Yes, oh, the warm water's lovely. Please. So when I was in Switzerland, I had to meet up with those pretty cows with the bells on. They're all the milk cows.
Yeah, it's both. The youngs, he makes some beefs,
yes,
and the other ones is for breeding.
Have you got names for them?
Yeah, sure. Every cow got a name.
Yes.
You have a paper and a number.
Yes. I mind I hadn't many, only 7. So they had names. Well, this is Rose, of course, the mother cow and grandmother now. 2 of her daughters, the oldest one, Puddles, and Patch. He's her grandson, Bubbles, the big one. And he's another grandson, the little Peekaboo. They're half-brothers, those 2. And then I have Christmas somewhere. It's behind Puddles. And the little heifer calf Bunty, yes. I sometimes think they're like me little family. And sometimes rather like children, especially the little ones, because you bring them up from babies. They're not always, a milk beast isn't always a good beef beast, is it?
No, it's not so.
No.
Hereford
yes.
is better.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's fine, the Charolais all right.
Huh? We got, every cow's got horns.
Yes.
Brandies.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because mind, I didn't have mine. Only Rosa, my old cow, was dehorned.
Yeah.
You just put the bells on for them to come out in the summer.
Yeah, for going on the hills.
Yes.
It's easier to find
yes.
for milking.
How far do they go?
It's going to Zweisimmen, 15 kilometers.
Yes.
1800 meters.
Yes. They're very musical, aren't they? Have a musical sound.
Oh, yeah, sure. That's a nice song.
The alpenhorn, it's a magnificent instrument to look at. Quite a showpiece, but it's what we call like the tune the old cow died in, really.
Up to now, Hannah has been closely following the footsteps of Victorian maiden ladies, particularly Miss Jemima Morell, who travelled with Mr. Thomas Cook, the world's first excursionist, on his first trip to foreign parts in 1863. Now Miss Hannah is following her own inclinations to visit the birthplaces of Mozart and her own particular hero, Johann Strauss. Pausing briefly on the way to take wine, non-alcoholic wine, in Rudesheim.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank
Hello.
you very much.
Thank
It
you.
was a very
welcome.
nice ride.
Good evening.
As your host in the Lindenwirt, I welcome you and I wish you a pleasant evening and a pleasant stay in our house.
Thank you very
Thank you for
much.
coming.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
And we brought our wine princess to welcome you as well.
As Rüdesheimer wine queen, it's a great pleasure for me to welcome you in Rüdesheim am Rhein. I hope you will spend a nice day here.
Yes,
and
thank
do you
you
like
very much.
the Rüdesheimer wine?
Well, I don't drink, really.
Cheers.
I take a sip.
Yeah.
Just
To
a
your
little.
health.
Thank you. To yours too. I just had a little drop. I think I just had a little drop.
Do you cook yourself always?
I'm not a very good cook,
No?
really. It's hard work.
Yes. Who did it for you?
Well, I do it, myself.
You do it yourself.
But, it doesn't come easily.
Certainly it was never easy when Hannah was living at Low Birkhat, where the demands of farming alone in miserable conditions left her scant time to care for herself. She was even obliged to hang her food from the ceiling to protect it from rodents.
We've always had rats. I'm sorry to say, one time and another. There was one a while ago I met at the foot of the stairs. I don't know which was the most frightened, it or me, but fortunately it went the other way. No, I hate, they're horrible things. I don't like them. So it's still a luxury, and to have a lovely meal all already cooked and to sit down to, and so I enjoy that very much.
Yours too. Thank you. It's a delicious wine. Do you like
really
the
nice.
wine?
Yes, thank you.
Fine.
Yes. And it's non-alcoholic.
Yes, but yours. Mine is with alcohol.
Yes, which pleases me. Yes, well, to each his own.
Yes, but it's a Riesling wine.
Yes.
A Rüdesheim Riesling wine. But we have a firm here in Rüdesheim. They take off of a special way the alcohol.
Yes.
That you still have a Riesling wine, but without alcohol.
Yes.
Perhaps there is a little bit, 1.2% alcohol.
Yes. Yes.
Mine has 9.5% alcohol.
Yes. Suits me very well that way. One reason why I don't drink alcohol myself, because there was rather a too strong a liking for it with some members of the family, and I sometimes think such things can run in the blood. It's best just to leave them alone. I'm daft enough sober, never mind drunk.
The music.
Yes, thank you.
Yes. And do you like the Flemish music?
Yes.
Mr. Caesar is from Romanian government. He heard about you. He heard that you have a rose which own your name, and he want to offer it like a symbol, this rose.
Thank you
Dar
very much.
sunteți mai frumoasă ca acest trandafir.
You are nicer than your rose.
Oh, thank you very much.
Și cu toată dragostea v-aș ruga oricând aveți
You want
plăcerea.
you, anytime you have a pleasure to visit Romania.
Thank you.
As a guest of Romanian government, and to exchange your ideas with Romanian writers.
Încă o dată vă felicit pentru activitatea dumneavoastră.
Thank you very much.
Și dați-mi voi încă o dată, dar să vă și sărut.
Salzburg, the birthplace of Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart.
Nice to be in Salzburg. It's a beautiful city, and its associations with music. Her father liked music, mother liked music, and was a very able musician. So it's always played a very important part in my life, and still is. If I'd had a choice, I would have liked to have been a professional musician. I would have liked that, I think. The architecture's magnificent. I mean, so many, I don't think we saw so many magnificent archways, fine buildings, and the fountains were lovely. The carriage, it was lovely. It's an ideal way to see a city in horse and carriage. Pouring with rain as usual, and not very warm with it. But it's a magnificent city with its associations with Mozart. They were commemorating the double centenary of Mozart's death.
Well, Hannah, that's the man that the whole city of Salzburg seems to be geared to.
Yes.
Mozart.
Yes. No, little wonder that it is. With all his marvellous music.
You're an admirer of Mozart?
Yes, I don't know. There's some of it. Some of it I like. I don't know. There's a lot I don't know, but there is some I like. Yes.
Well, he was supposed to be a genius.
Yes. Yes, he probably was. He died very young. The flame burned brightly, but soon flickered away and died, sadly. But he's remembered for his great music. It's better to be at the top and be remembered than deteriorate in later life and not be a shadow of, only be a shadow of what they formerly were. I was to hear several forms of music in Salzburg, but none of them Mozart, as it turned out. I did go to a concert in Salzburg. It was a magnificent room. I wore my long dark dress, and for some curious reason the audience had thought that I was the tutor of the young gentleman who played. A young American gentleman called David Lively, and his music wasn't very lively. The music he played was César Franck and Rachmaninoff. He was quite very able. He played all without music, but the only thing I wasn't keen on his choice of, on the choice of his music. His tastes and mine don't quite agree. We did go to a concert last night where there was no Mozart, probably the only concert that'll be held in Salzburg when they don't play it. But no one can imagine that his music, known and probably not so well known, will be played.
And it's a special anniversary now, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Beautiful city. I rather like the little bird on this corner. I thought the great and the small. It was such a nice little bird perched on the corner there.
Salzburg is the city of music. Plenty of concerts in all the palaces and churches around the city. We have plenty of churches. Makes Salzburg called the city Rome north of the Alps because of all the church towers we see here.
Yes,
just as many.
We can see quite a few from here, can't we? And the river, what do you call the river?
The river is the Salzach.
Yes.
The Salzach comes the name from the salt,
yes.
Same as the city.
Yes.
Salt was the main industry here for thousands of years.
Yes. So hence the name.
So, after you finish your dessert, go to a special place just outside the city, since it's not raining. Famous for its special trick water fountains.
Yes.
Be our next stop today.
Yes. As if we haven't had enough already. What's new, as they say. Thank you.
This is one of the palaces, the summer palaces for the Prince Archbishops who ruled in Salzburg for over 1,000 years.
Yes.
As an independent principality, and they were more princely, especially during this period, the Baroque period.
Yes.
And this was early 17th century. This
Yes.
palace was completed, and this is in the back yard or back garden. They would celebrate the parties, the festivities.
Yes. Some backyard, isn't it?
After hunting parties, the Prince Archbishop invited his friends, and then they were celebrating him. More or less drinking parties on hot summer days, just like today.
Yes.
The opening in the middle was very important because there they cooled the wine jugs.
Yes.
And when the guests then always got too loud, and they were noisy, tipsy or drunk, the bishop had a wonderful method to refresh them again and sober them up.
Yes.
That's what I'd like to show you. Are
Yes.
you ready? Or maybe you'd like to sit down.
Pardon?
I know the feeling, Hannah.
Oh, my word. Not very lucky to be one of his guests if you drank too much.
And this was the one seat where the Archbishop would sit.
Yes.
And of course, the rule of the court was no one could stand up until he did.
Yes.
So the other ones with the wet bottoms had to remain seated.
Every place spouted water I could do with on occasion, and even the antlers of the deer.
Now there we go. Ooh. Okay, go ahead. I'm right behind you. Go ahead.
The Prince Archbishop's palace turned out to be one long, aquatic, practical joke.
Thank you.
Not good.
No.
You don't fancy practical jokes, do you, Hannah?
I don't. No, I don't. I wouldn't play them on someone else, and I don't like. No, I have no time or patience with practical jokers at all.
Most people seem to be enjoying it, though.
Yes, well, that's okay if they enjoy it. All well and good for them.
That's on a summer's day, perhaps.
Yes, on a summer's day, and maybe in a swimsuit.
For Hannah, water has never been a laughing matter. At Low Birkhead, she relied on the stream running in front of the farmhouse.
It's as hard as nail.
But it wasn't always available.
Oh, poor things.
Comes from behind them.
After Paris, the place Hannah most wanted to visit was Vienna. To her, it's essentially the city of Johann Strauss. Naturally, she was eager to view the river, indelibly associated with the musician she most admires.
That's the Danube, Hannah.
Yes, it isn't really blue. It's doing its best, I think.
It's jade green.
Yes, it's doing its best.
It's inspired some melodies, though, hasn't it?
Oh, yes, it has. Of course, back to Johann Strauss, his famous Blue Danube Waltz, which is lovely. He has a special place. I've enjoyed his music for years. Went to see the film The Great Waltz, which was lovely. And always, even if it's one of the duller days, if you hear some of his music, it transports you into other worlds. It makes you think of lovely marble halls and beautiful places. And of course the Vienna woods too. And I don't think some will say that, oh well, it's light and frothy, but I don't think it's quite all that, because say the Emperor Waltz, for instance, there's some marvellous chords, some very solemn. There's rather like a sadness. It's rather like someone telling rather a sad story a while, and then it blossoms out into life and beauty. They were a marvellous family, his father, the senior Johann, and then the son. It was rather sad that there was a difference between them as time went on. And then, of course, his brothers. But I like Joseph's Roses from the south. But, I think he's the number one. And it's fitting that he should be remembered. I say as we're standing here that I'm not the only person who admires Johann Strauss II.
Now, Hannah, this is our state opera.
Yes.
Which was badly bombed, except for the entrance, as you see.
Yes.
Here all the world's greatest singers are singing. For a Placido Domingo, they would queue up the whole night.
We had a ride around and saw the Opera House and other buildings. We saw the Parliament buildings.
Hannah, now at the right, you see St. Stephen Cathedral.
Yes.
The very center of Vienna.
Yes. One night, I did go to a Viennese wine cellar, and I wasn't interested in the wine. It was the music I went to hear, and I wasn't disappointed.
Ein Glas Wasser nur, bitte. Kein Mineralwasser, danke.
So steht die Stadt meiner Träume sein, dort wo die alten Häuser stehen, dort wo die lieblichen Mädchen gehen. Wiener, Wiener, du allein, so steht die Stadt meiner Träume sein. Selig jetzt Wien, ist der Wien, meine Wien.
Hannah's visit to Vienna concluded with a ride on the giant Prater wheel, immortalized in one of the most famous films of the 1950s.
I never visualized going up the wheel, the big wheel, which was made famous in the film The Third Man, which I'm very fond of. I was a bit frightened of the Eiffel Tower, but that's nothing to the big wheel.
During the war, the steeple was not crashed because the roof was all damaged.
Yes.
And St. Stephen is the center of Vienna.
Yes.
In all these hills you see around, these are the Vienna woods.
Oh, yes. Oh, up there.
Yes, this is where you stay. Your hotel
Yes.
is near there. Yes.
Yes.
You see, and this is where the Danube comes down.
Oh, yes.
You will see only the bridges.
Yes. Looking from a higher point over the city, there was trees. You could see trees scattered about here and there.
And Hannah, now we're following in the footsteps of Harry Lime.
Yes.
You saw the film, did you?
Yes, oh yes, it's a favourite of mine. I've seen it a few times and I could watch it over and over again. But it's the music that takes it over the top. The Anton Karas and the zither. And the way he can adjust the kind of music to the scene. It's beautiful. I always, whenever I hear it, even the ice cream van in the village plays the Harry Lime theme. It always ends too quickly, that's the only thing. But I never thought I would be up here.
Rome, the Forum, where still the eloquent air breathes, burns with Cicero.
So wrote Miss M.J. Furby, a maiden lady from Bridlington who took a Thomas Cook tour of Italy in 1877. Miss Hannah Hauxwell, another Yorkshire-born maiden lady, went to view the same celebrated site.
Are you impressed, Hannah?
Honestly, I don't know what to think of it. Really? I know it dates possibly back a long while. Honestly, I don't know what to think of it. It's a strange place. It's a wonderful place in its way, but very most unusual. Something I've never seen before and probably won't again.
You can't feel the warmth of Cicero, then?
No. The sun's warm for a change. A bit to the other extreme, but no. In fact, I didn't know who Cicero... I'll not pretend I didn't know who Cicero was. I'm afraid I'm not good on some of this history.
Well, you've heard of Julius Caesar,
Yes.
of course. I mean, this is where the Roman Empire was organised from, politically.
Yes.
And every other where, the Forum.
Yes.
It was the centre of the universe.
Yes.
For a long time.
Yes. Like a lot of great powers, it crumbles, doesn't it?
Well, Hannah, the Colosseum certainly crumbled, but it's still rather an impressive place, don't you think?
Well, grim associations. The arc, you know, how it's built is interesting, but the associations, it's a grim place.
Used to seat 70,000 people on marble seats.
Yes. Yes, that's a lot of people. Be all right if it had been to listen to some lovely music, or a pantomime, or a play or something, but not with the associations it had.
Yes, it wasn't very good to be a Christian at one time around here, was it?
No, it wasn't. No, certainly not.
Do you remember how it used to happen to them?
Yes. I don't like it.
You don't like to think about it?
No. No, poor things. Many a noble person last saw the light of day here. I think the North Country weather followed us everywhere, because even at the Trevi Fountain, there was no water in it. They're doing repairs, but it was pouring down from the skies. There's more water coming from the sky than there is in the fountain.
Yes, I know. Yes, I know that it's obviously being restored.
Yes. That's where the sheeting is.
I mean, that's by Bernini. The sculpture is by Bernini.
Yes.
As you say, there's more water
coming from
down.
up above. Yes.
If you throw a coin in the fountain and you're supposed to return to Rome, if you can't throw a coin in the fountain, then maybe your chances of returning to Rome are pretty slim. Does that bother you?
No, it would have been nice to see more of all these lovely places. But no, I never thought I would be here anyway in the first place. So it's a bonus anyhow to be here.
The weather did improve a little in Tuscany, heart of the Italian wine industry, where Hannah met a couple who take their living from the land, as she once did.
It is a little grape.
Yes.
You know, he's called a little grape.
Yes. So
and this one is a dragon, a big one.
He is beautiful.
He's very nice. Huh? I like him very much too.
Yes, don't wonder. Can't help liking him. It's the first dogs I've touched since I left home.
Really? Have you got dogs of your own?
Just a little Jack Russell.
Smaller smaller than that one.
Yes.
Lei ha anche una piccola cane, ma è molto piccola.
Molto piccola.
Yes. What is her name? Piccolo?
No, piccolo cane vuol dire little dog.
Yes. Piccolo.
Piccolo.
Yes. That's nice.
Yeah.
It is.
And then.
Qual è, signora, il suo lavoro in Inghilterra?
Yes. What work do you do in England? She said. Or have you been doing what work? Did you do farm?
On a farm, a little farm.
Aveva un piccolo farm che coltivava.
Just 7 cattle I had, but I'm retired now.
And the parting from her animals was fraught with emotion, the day of the parting. But a satisfactory arrangement had been made.
A good friend and neighbours getting them, and I know he'll be good to them. And so that is very lucky in that respect. Look! Stop! Oh, fuck. Please, let's get to... Come on, Kush. Kush, pets.
That's all right,
Hello
Helen. We've got them now.
Yes.
No need to worry.
No, thank you very much.
Okay, now don't worry about them. We'll
Thank you very much. I know they have a good home.
I'll have the dash now.
It's not a road
Ta-da.
for dawdling. Goodbye.
Noi coltiviamo vino.
Wine. They make wine and olives.
Yes, lovely.
Molto buono.
Yes.
That's very good. No.
I should have had my Wellingtons.
Yeah,
at
it would be
home.
much better in this way. Well, maybe you can see it better if you look at these.
It had been a poor year for the grapes, and they were quite a long way behind with the work, and things should have been more advanced.
This medieval sort of
little village.
Yes.
And there are only 32 people living here.
Yes.
He said there are more dogs than people.
Yes. Oh, well, that's nice, isn't it? Yes.
He said that all people that live here, 32 people, they
Yes.
all occupy to make the wine. It's
Yes.
very interesting. The whole
Yes.
village is working
Yes.
here.
Oh, it's lovely,
very nice,
isn't
isn't it? Yeah.
And this is interesting. Never seen these before.
These are lovely, and all made of wood. Quale legna?
Yes.
Legno di castagno.
Ah, these are a kind of oak trees.
Yes.
These casks. The color is very nice.
Yes,
It's all
isn't it
red.
lovely?
See,
Beautiful.
you can smell it, you know, because it's the perfume.
Oh, yes.
It's
Lovely
very-
perfume, yes. There
See,
is lovely smell.
It's very nice, huh?
Yes.
Well, Hannah, this is Siena.
Yes.
Twice a year, around this square, they run the Palio.
Yes.
A very famous and very dangerous horse race. In fact,
Yes.
you're sitting right on the racetrack.
Fancy. It is dangerous. Do they in the middle? What is the middle for?
People to watch.
Spectators.
The place is absolutely jammed for it, and each district around here puts a horse in.
Yes.
Unfortunately, there's quite a lot of injury, almost carnage. In fact, last year, just where you're sitting, there was an awful accident when a loose horse ran across the leaders, and there was a jumble of men and horse flesh all over the place.
Yes. I'm not a great, I'm not all that keen on horse racing anyway, but certainly this is the last place anybody who cared about animals would think of racing horses. Not very nice. I wouldn't like to be here.
Per questo fanno il giro del piazza due volte. E quello che arriva per primo è che vince il palio.
Speak English, please.
I forget. Okay, they make the course here, this piazza here.
Clear that.
Because it's very hard here to walk, the horses. When the palio is full, like 15,000 persons.
I'm not keen on horse racing anyhow, and certainly not here. I think anybody who cares about horses wouldn't
No,
bring
I
them
think
to
it's not
race.
because we don't care about horses.
Yes.
It's like this. It's a match.
Yes.
And the horse it was alone. And this way he continued to the wall, and he got to the wall. And this way he.
Yes. Accidents do.
Yeah, I think. You want to mean it's not good that the horse is.
No, I don't like horse racing anyhow, even in England. You know, if I had
You don't like that the human use the horse.
Yes.
But I think the horse, it's one horse here that he did. But I think it's most important of the horse. There is a lot of humans that they did without anything. I think we don't have to care about one horse. On all the world, there is a lot of people that they or how you say it, they died.
Dead. From the war.
Oh, from the war, from anything else. We have to care about the humans in Africa that they don't have anything to eat. And we have to think about the people all over the world that they don't have anything to eat. And not like another person that they think about animals. On the humans, Humans, they don't have anything to eat. I'm sorry to tell that.
We like our animals in England, and animals are.
I'm sorry.
They
I have to
trust
go
you.
because I have to continue my work.
Yes.
I come back. Okay.
Yes,
Okay, I will come back.
It's no good, you know. I have my ideas. He has his, and I'm still not convinced either. I still don't like it. I'll go on to pleasanter things. The horse racing thing isn't acceptable at all. Or I like Siena. I like the place.
Yes, it's beautiful, isn't it?
And the countryside, as we've come to it. The place itself, it's a pleasant place. I was a bit worried when he went away, but it all worked out in the end.
I'm sorry.
Oh.
Bye-bye. Have a good time.
No hard feelings, and very nice of you to come. Thank you.
Thank you.
All the best to you.
Ciao. Bye-bye.
Goodbye. The visit to Siena ended on a nice note, in fact, a musical note. We heard some music coming, and you could see they were dressed in with these colourful capes and hats and fine feathers. And I went across, of course, being me, went across to see and hear, and that was very enjoyable. There were quite a gay crowd.
Apparently, Hannah, it's students celebrating the end of a term, I believe.
Yes.
So I hear.
Yes, they're a happy crowd and a colourful one, aren't they, with their cloaks and their feathers, and they've been dancing. I'm hoping they would start and dance again. They're a happy band.
Florence, where Hannah picked up the trail of Miss M.J. Furby once again.
We arrived in Florence on a Sunday afternoon and took a carriage to the hill of San Miniato, where we obtained a magnificent view of the city and environs of Florence and the windings of the River Arno.
An extract from the 1877 journal of Miss Furby touring Italy with Mr. Thomas Cook.
Well, Hannah, this is exactly the same spot that Miss Furby had her first view of Florence. I suspect the weather was somewhat better.
Yes, let's hope so. Couldn't be much worse unless it was snowing.
Yes, it looks a bit like Barnsley in this rain, doesn't it?
Yes. There's a wide view, a wide expanse of scenery. A lot of red roofs over to the right. Apart from there's a high dome and one or two church spires.
Well, that's the cathedral down there.
Yes.
And that's the Ponte Vecchio you see in front of you.
Yes, the bridges and the river.
I mean, this is the city of Michelangelo and Leonardo da Vinci. This is where the Renaissance flowered.
Yes.
So
just rather in this weather, just rather difficult to imagine it.
Anyway, we'll have a closer look at it.
Yes. We did go up to a high point above Florence where there was a reproduction of Michelangelo's David. I wasn't particularly keen on it. I'm not really keen on bronze.
Next day, in unaccustomed sunshine, Hannah went to see the other version, which stands in the city's principal square.
Well, that's another replica of Michelangelo's David, Hannah.
Yes. I like it better than the one we saw yesterday. I prefer the stone to the bronze. It's more like the real David, because it's in stone.
Yes, it's marble, I believe.
Yes. I like the marble better.
Throughout her tour, Hannah met many admirers.
I'd like to thank you for all the pleasure you've given us, both in books and on the television.
Thank you very much.
And what a stout life, Hannah.
Yes.
When we think of you going down for the water, you know, when it's frozen.
Yes.
And all that ice.
Yes.
Marvellous.
Just hard life, wasn't it?
Just what happens in the hill country.
That's right.
Yeah, that's
Very
it, yes.
hard life.
Yes.
Ooh.
Breeds a bit of true grit, doesn't it?
Well, I don't know. I've maybe turned a bit softer. I
think you earned it.
I think you deserve it. Yeah, I think you deserve that.
Enjoy the rest of your holiday, won't you? Because we think you've earned it.
Thank you
And we're
very
so
much.
thrilled to have met you. So
Thank you.
Goodbye.
I've enjoyed
Goodbye now.
meeting you too.
Bye-bye.
And enjoy your holiday also.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye-bye, my dear.
Bye.
Bye-bye now.
Bye. Thank you. In Florence, we went to the Ponte Vecchio, which is famous for its jewellery. I thought I would treat myself to a present, and so I decided on a cameo brooch. Has it a good pin? Will this have a chain?
The pin is very good because it has the shore here.
Yes.
And there's a possible to open.
Yes.
And there's a very strong.
And what did you say about the chain?
The chain is possible to put here. That is a very strong. And there's a possible to put so, you know?
Yes. Yes. What is the price, please? For
The very best price for the cameo is a possible 130,000 lire.
Yes.
And for the chain, 60,000 lire. It's the total of 190,000 lire.
Yes.
It's the very best price possible for cash money.
Yes, thank you. So I would.
Yes, it's all right. I think it's all right.
Springtime in Florence, the worst for more than 40 years.
There was a heavy thunderstorm. It poured down, and I went to take cover in a nice place, and there was a small orchestra playing, so that was a nice surprise.
What do you think of that, Hannah?
Oh, it's lovely. It's marvellous. Like this place, anyhow.
It's quite a remarkable sight.
Yes, it is. I like it.
Would you like to go up it?
No, I think I've done far enough I hope to land to heaven someday, if there is such a place, but I've done my best. I've done as much as I intend to do for the time being, as far as going up man-made things.
It seems to be still slipping.
Yes, it's a pity. It's lovely. Let's hope it can stay all right without falling. It's lovely.
Touring Italy in the manner of maiden ladies of Victorian times, Hannah was poised to travel on to Naples when a call came from the Vatican. Would she please come to St. Peter's Square the following morning? During the summer, Pope John Paul gives regular outdoor audiences for the pilgrims who flock to Rome. Those who are to receive the chance of a personal blessing from the Pope are allocated special positions.
I was in a corner, which was a good place for seeing the Pope if he did happen to come past. There was some Polish people, and they were very nice, but when the Pope was coming past, they all crushed into the corner, and that was rather frightening. He came and got out of his car and then went round and then went in up onto the, whatever they call it, the place he speaks from. And then he completed his journey.
Most Holy Father, the English-speaking visitors and pilgrims are happy to have this occasion to offer to Your Holiness their sentiments of deep respect and esteem, and to assure you of their prayers for your ministry as the successor of Peter.
Dear brothers and sisters, this past week I returned to Portugal as a pilgrim to the shrine of Our Lady of Fatima in order to give thanks to God for saving my life 10 years ago and thus permitting me to continue to serve His Church in the Petrine ministry.
At the end of the audience, the Holy Father will impart his apostolic blessing, which he willingly extends to the members.
Surprisingly, it was on that day, one of the few, it was quite hot, and had to use the umbrella not to protect me from the rain, but from the hot sun, which was very welcome. People stretch their hands out and he takes their hand. In a way, he looked like his pictures. I think rather older and a bit frailer. But still, it was wonderful to see him. I like him as a person, and I think he's a good man. It was a bit frightening, but I was very lucky that there was a nice American couple who befriended me and protected me. It's overwhelming, really. But it is, you know, out of this world. It's different, you know, to anything we've seen or ever will. Again, I would think.
It's been a pleasure talking with Hannah.
You were looking after Hannah, were you?
Well, there was quite a crush behind us.
The rear guard, I guess you could call us.
Yes, but very important that it is, and much appreciated. I haven't been in anything of the kind before. It's rather frightening.
Big crowds can be very scary.
Yes, it is. So thank you very much for the protection and the company, too.
Well, it was good meeting you.
Another new experience for Hannah. A first ever visit to a nightclub, chaperoned by her official guide.
When we were in Rome, went to a nightclub, which I didn't know it was one, and had never been to one before. But I did like the music. It was grand, lively music and singing and playing.
Did you like that? Rome has not a great nightlife.
No.
Because having the Pope,
yes,
nightlife is not suggested.
No.
Or it's more religious life, let's say.
Yes.
And most of the tourists are pilgrims.
Yes.
So they have to go early to bed.
Yes. I was thinking it's
disappointing.
Leaves things rather flat.
True.
There's some.
Parlami d'amore, Mariù. Tutta la mia vita sei tu. Gli occhi tuoi belli brillano, fiamme di sogno scintillano. Dimmi che illusione non è, dimmi che sei tutta per me. Qui sul tuo cuore non soffro più, parlami d'amore.
Now that's supposed to be one of the most beautiful sights in the world, Hannah.
Yes, it is a wonderful view. And the sea, the bay, is that the Bay of Naples?
That's the Bay of Naples.
Yes. A bit short on blue sky as well as it happens, but no, it's a wonderful view.
Miss M.J. Furby, another maiden lady touring Italy with Mr. Thomas Cook in 1877, was very impressed by the same view.
There is probably not in the wide world a city more beautifully situated than that of Naples. And there is a proverb in use to express the charms of the locality: see Naples and die.
And I've heard it said, see Paris and live. So I'll plump for go for the latter. Our guide was a lovely lady called Fulvia, who was, I believe, in real life Contessa, not the barefoot Contessa, but she was really nice and a pleasure to be with.
You see, now we are in Corso Vittorio Emanuele, and you can see Naples down.
Yes.
What a pity the weather is so awful.
Yes, it is.
It is nearly going to rain.
Yes.
This is the station of Mergellina.
Yes.
And it is very nice to
Isn't
see.
it?
Oh, the train going to Rome start from here.
Yes. It's a beautiful building.
Yes,
isn't
very
it?
nice.
Very ornamental.
It's a little bit crowded in this afternoon.
Yes. Is it a busy time?
Yes, of course, because all the people going around.
Yes.
And everybody are taking cars because it's raining, nearly raining. So nobody is going by foot.
No.
And this is a problem.
Yes. It was marvellous how he drove the horse through the traffic. So he was a good driver, but not the horse could have been a lot better.
You see the harbor here?
Yes.
This is Mergellina harbor.
Yes.
And from here, all the boats going to the islands, also the hydrofoils going to Capri, Ischia and Procida, they start from here.
Yes.
And you see how nice it is.
Yes. Yes, if the sky was blue, the water would be blue.
Yes, it's a pity, it's a little bit grey.
Yes. Wow, wow, wow. Oh! It's a fool of a horse.
Another unseasonable downpour forced the rest of the tour of Naples to be done by taxi.
Can you shut the door here? Because it's much more safe.
Yes.
You see how narrow are these streets?
Oh, they are.
Very dark.
Yes.
And there are many poor peoples living here.
Yes.
It's very crowded, you see.
Yes, big families are there.
Yes, there are big families. Every family has got 10 children and things like that. And so they are very poor, and they live, sometimes there are family who lives in one room.
Yes,
and you can
in one room. Yes.
Sometimes old peoples are very happy because they can follow what it happened in the street.
Yes.
Instead, in our family, perhaps they are in big buildings and they're very lonely.
Yes.
Instead, here they participate. Old people, they are not abandoned. You see,
no.
Participate to the life.
Yes, it happens often in big cities all over the world where there's the lovely palaces and the poor.
Yes.
The people in humble.
Yes, this is really typical in the old part of Naples.
Yes.
Because there are wonderful palaces, you see, all very old palaces.
Yes.
And very poor houses.
Yes.
And very crowded because all these people came during the war here and to live, and they never abandoned it.
No, where this is home now.
Pompeii was home to many people too until one catastrophic day in AD 79.
There are many people, many foreigners, you see.
Yes.
They come to see Pompeii from all the part of the world, you know.
And they've been coming for more than a century. Thomas Cook personally led at least one of his many excursions to Pompeii.
I want to show you something very nice. You see, this is all marbles.
I wasn't really all that bothered. I thought, there would be a few small broken down walls and maybe higher pillars. But no, when I got there, it's a wonderful place and much bigger than I'd ever imagined. There was a sense of history there, and you could imagine people living there. It had something alive about it.
You see, this is the house of Vetti, a very rich family of wine merchants in Pompeii. And it was destroyed in AD 79. And you see the garden, it is as it was at this period, you see. And this is one of the houses. They have left all the paintings were left on situ, on place, because the first houses were discovered all the paintings were brought to archaeological museum in Naples.
Baths and central heating. In my case, I could maybe say I was 2,000 years behind the Romans because I hadn't anything of the kind up at the farm.
You see, this is a bath slave who died in the eruption of the afternoon on the 24th of August 79.
Yes.
See, poor people.
Yes, it is.
Tragedy.
Dreadful, yes. I can't imagine what it was like.
These stones were put just to let people not to have the feet wet, so they could go from one side of the road to the other side, passing on these stones.
Yes.
They were called pedestrians.
Yes. Pedestrian crossings in those days. They had then what's only happened to some of us in recent times.
This mountain is the Vesuvio, who caused so much troubles to Pompeii, you know. This is 20 minutes to go to the top.
Yes.
Do you think you want to arrive until the top?
I don't think so. It's not like, doesn't look an easy walk up there by a long chalk.
Yes, perhaps we can see the view here.
Yes.
And
thank you. Yes. We eventually arrived and oh, it was so cold. A great brown hill and mountain and so cold and rather a curious smell of sulphur.
We can go to see the view here. It's wonderful.
Yes.
You see all the Bay of Naples.
Where are you going staying in Capri?
Just for the day.
For the day only?
Yes.
What did you decide to discover in one day only?
I don't know. We're going.
It's a short time.
Yes, it
short
is.
time.
Yes. No, you need a bit longer.
It's such a beautiful island.
Yes.
Capri is particularly famous for its Blue Grotto, a cave in the cliffs, entered by transferring to small rowing boats which negotiate their way through a low and narrow gap in the rock. Regrettably, the unseasonable weather had agitated the sea, making entry a trifle uncomfortable. Hannah was not happy.
The blue water is wonderful, but I didn't like it being enclosed, and the little shallow boat in the water and the darkness.
Is it not beautiful? Beautiful.
No. I wasn't sorry to see the last of it, to say goodbye to the Blue Grotto.
Thank you.
Oh, and went in a lovely open car. I don't know why they haven't that style now, but it was a lovely car and very comfortable.
From the lowest point of Capri, Hannah set off to visit the highest, Monte Solaro.
Very pleasant up there, nice streets and shops.
Monte Solaro is situated 1,800 feet above sea level, and unless tourists wishing to enjoy the celebrated view opt for a precipitous hill climb, the only way up the final leg is by chairlift.
See how they get on. Tell me whether you fancy it. Oh, look here.
I was looking to see where it is they go.
We're just up to the top. See?
There's no support at the back much, is there?
There's a good chair, see?
Say, I don't fancy going right up to the top there.
I can't see whether it goes that far or not, to be honest.
We wait, please. They go right up,
Yeah, I know.
don't they? If it had just been along the bottom, but the thoughts are going away up there.
There's a dog going up there, see?
Oh, poor dog. He doesn't know. Oh, it's silly, is that? Poor little dog. Oh, no. Oh, that's madness. Poor little dog, it hasn't a choice.
Well, you have a choice, Hannah.
Thank
and your
you.
choice is?
No.
So the top view from Capri was abandoned, but there was a suitable alternative accessible on foot, one with romantic literary associations.
Went to visit the Villa San Michel, which was built and eventually the home of the author Hauxwell. It was a beautiful place, marvellous, looking over the water from a lovely terrace.
Okay, Hannah, well, the chairlift is behind us. It obviously wasn't to your liking, was
No, well, I was a bit frightened. There's nothing I could do. And even now I'm sitting, you know, I'm all right, but I'm not, you know, I'm well aware that I'm perched up a height rather, which is, you know, and that's nothing. No, I was just frightened of going up there.
Well, that's quite a sight, isn't it, Hannah? I mean, look at the boats.
Yes.
Coming into the harbour of Capri.
Yes.
And that's Sorrento in the distance.
Yes. And the houses dotted on the hilltop. It'll be rather wild up there, won't it?
Yes, I think it's going to get wild here in a moment.
Yes.
And there's another storm coming, which must be about the...
We should have we've missed a thunderstorm for a day or so.
Yes, that's unusual, isn't it?
Yes, oh, it is.
Yes, I think we're due one. We've had about 10 already.
Yes, it's time. And did thunder, but we did hear that further south it even had snow. And I do prefer rain to snow. It does run away. Capri's been famous for its beauty and songs written about it. You could understand why a Roman emperor and even Gracie Fields made their homes there. Given the opportunity, it would be nice to go back, but I wouldn't care to live there myself.
No place is so beautiful as Naples, except in Venice. Everywhere you drink in its charm, subtle intoxication, and glory.
An extract from the journal of Miss M.J. Furby of Bridlington in Yorkshire, describing her visit to Venice in 1877, organised by Mr. Thomas Cook, the father of the travel industry. Miss Hannah Hauxwell, another Yorkshire-born maiden lady who is following in Miss Furby's footsteps, is in total agreement.
No, it's a magical place. The beautiful buildings. The bridges and no traffic. It's lovely. We just come from Naples and the other places we've been where there's traffic going in all ways, and it's a job crossing the street. And so it's magic to walk about and not have to bother about the traffic. Good afternoon.
Would you like to take a picture? With
Don't really well. I'm not really an oil painting, but it'll be a memory of Venice. All right, please. How much is it, though? Please, how
look
much?
the price.
Will it? Yes, the price.
the price.
Thank you.
I make 2 photos for 15,000 lira.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
I'll have one, please.
You want pictures still?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Thank
Stay
you.
there. Do you like with the church or the tower? You prefer with the church? It's better?
Yes, please.
Okay.
What do you suggest, please?
Stay here.
Yes. Thank you.
Open your hands. I put. Hola. Look here, please. Hello, look the camera. Yeah, good.
Oh, it's out of this world. It's a lovely place. I fell in love with it nearly from the beginning. I love riding in the boats. I enjoy it. But it's a funny thing that when I'm not in the boat, it's just a feeling as if the ground's moving. It's surprising. I've heard of sailors who've spent a lot of years at sea. I like riding in the boats. They're lovely. It's fascinating. And we had a lovely trip to the factory, to the glass factory. Some beautiful craftsmanship. In fact, we were lucky we saw a piece of glass. Saw them making an item.
The art of glass making dates back in Venice to the year 982.
Fancy, yes.
Then
long way back.
Is the master, and it takes minimum from 15 to 20 years to become a master.
Yes. They are craftsmen who do it, but how they do it, the heat was, I don't know how they worked there, it was so hot. That's good
Yes,
in these days.
handed
of
down,
heat.
yes, exactly.
Oh,
Everything
it's
is
good,
here,
isn't it?
still handmade.
Yes.
See now it's shaping into a form to get
Yes.
the vertical ridges.
Yes.
Now it's putting inside the oven to get it soft. The color is not yet evident.
No.
But the color would be evident when the glass would cool off.
Yes.
It's going to be various shades of green.
Yes.
In order to get the colors, we have different metallic oxides. So for blue, cobalt, green, copper, yellow, cadmium, purple, manganese, red, selenium, and the famous Venetian ruby red with gold.
Yes.
This piece now will be transferred from the blowpipe to another rod.
Yes.
To be able to open it on the opposite end.
Yes.
And finally make a plate. Very brittle now.
Yes.
Now needs to be heated up again to be softened. Yes. Everybody in the world make crystal, so they make it white.
Yes.
Specialties in Venice is the color.
Yes.
Wash it carefully now. You're going to open it. Centrifugal 4, it starts opening already.
Yes.
That's it. Look.
Let's see.
So now it's changing color.
Yes.
Becoming a deeper green. Now they put some water where the pieces attached to the rod, and they take off the rod and set into an oven for cooling.
Yes.
This will take. That's it. Careful on the back. We're going to now set into an oven. Look at this. See?
Yes.
So green shading into a lighter color. Then it will be finished. Will only be a pontil mark at the end of it, which will show handmade, like a belly button.
Morning, madam.
Good morning. This is a lovely one, isn't it?
Beautiful morning.
Yes.
Here's your tea service.
Thank you. Thank you.
Enjoy your breakfast.
Yes, thank you. Goodbye. The weather was a bit kinder, in fact, so nice. I was able to take breakfast outside for the first time. It was lovely with the garden and the flowers. It was such a change to be able to walk about without coats and hats. It was lovely and peaceful after the hustle and bustle. There was a pool and some goldfish in it, and so I spent time in the gardens and enjoyed it. It was lovely.
And like Miss Furby, Hannah naturally took a ride in a gondola.
Beautiful gondola, quite a splendid boat. I think it was quite new, the gondolier said. He was a nice chap. There were a family of gondoliers. I think his father and maybe his grandfather before him. Just 1 hour. And the canals are very busy. If there isn't motor traffic, the canals are very busy. And so it's wonderful how they do.
Those gondolas are the perfection of locomotion as they glide along the silent, still and tranquil waters.
So wrote Miss Furby about her Venetian experiences in 1877.
Hello, madam. Madam, sorry. You told you see the Rialto Bridge.
Yes, it's a lovely bridge, isn't it?
Yeah, the first bridge in Venice. Inside the bridge, there are 24 shops.
Yes.
And the 3 streets.
Yes.
It's one beautiful bridge.
Yes.
Winter night with the light. It's a very romantic.
Yes.
It's very beautiful.
And even on the Grand Canal, Hannah was recognised and hailed from a passing water bus.
They were lovely. I just thought they were a boatload of friendly people. I think people liked the boat because it's such a splendid boat. That caught their eye anyhow. Beautiful buildings, even some with paintings on the outside, let alone the inside. It was just magic. It's the best word I can use.
And here you are, Hannah, in a millionaire's paradise.
Yes. A misfit, if ever there was one. Yes.
This is the sort of place that Alan Wicker does all his interviews in.
Yes. But I'm not the sort of person that he interviews, I don't think.
What about the food you've been eating in Italy, and Italy in general, and Venice in particular?
Well, I'm not a pasta past a person. I've fared very well. There have been other things that I've liked. But I'm not really one for the pastas. Been having fish and chicken. I like beef, but the modern fashion now, not what I like it well cooked right through. I'm no cook myself, but I know what I like it to be like when I'm eating it.
Yes, some of the beef is rather rare, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
So they've walked the cow through a warm room.
Yes, it's a shame. Good meat wasted, so I keep off it. A thought did occur to me last night that nobody would have to get too much to drink, or else they would go straight into the canals if they missed the bridges. But no, it's a magic place. I like it very much. I would come back again to Venice.
I think Venice is the only place that we've visited which hasn't had
As
rain.
yet.
As yet.
Fate, being tempted, responded accordingly. Hannah wanted her last night in Venice to be a musical occasion, so she went early to ensure a seat near the orchestra outside Florian's, the legendary cafe in St. Mark's Square. She need not have hurried.
I think the orchestra must have heard the weather forecast, because they played the Thunder and Lightning polka as an opening. He was a very lively character. I think he had ideas about following Johann Strauss, because he played the violin, and then he seemed to put on a bit of an act as well. Enjoyed the music, as always. Most people went because there was a bit of a rumbling and people seemed to clear away, but I was determined to stop and hear the orchestra play, and I enjoyed it too. Eventually it came on to rain so hard that even I had to take shelter. It was a sad night because it was the last night of the trip and the last night in Venice, and we were sad to leave it.
It is marvellous. Lovely weather we're having now.
I liked Venice, and I was sorry to leave, really. It was all, wonderful to go on the Orient Express. But I looked out as far as I could on the water. I was sorry to leave it.
Ma'am, tea time. Would you like a nice cup of tea?
Thank you.
You're welcome. We're now in Austria, yeah?
Yes.
All right. If you want some more hot... Yeah. It's so green, yeah. All right?
Yes, it is.
If you want some more hot water, just give me a call. I'm pressing this. Okay? You're welcome.
we passed through several countries in rail style. Enjoyed the scenery, of course, as ever, and enjoyed the company of the fellow passengers. What is it we're eating now?
We're eating scampi with a tomato and basil sauce.
Yes. Quite nice.
If you're enjoying it. You're not meant to eat the langoustine.
No.
He's just for decoration.
Yes, oh, well, it's nice to know that.
Oh, you do it, darling. It's your floor. No. Oh, no.
We're waiting to cross the border from
yes.
Austria into Switzerland.
Oh, yes.
And as you've seen, we've been through the mountains and now we're slowly coming down to lower ground.
Yes. Now, Darlington. We had a bit of a party after dinner.
Would you like to play the piano for us? Come on,
Thank you.
please.
No, my ability.
The pianist would be delighted to have a rest. He has to play all day and all night.
Oh, come on. But
Come on,
no,
play for
only
us.
for my own amusement, and I'm out of practice.
You're on your own, literally here.
I'm out of practice anyhow, because I haven't an instrument at home, you know, to practice on, so and it's very limited anyhow.
Hannah, can't you get just lost in the atmosphere of the Orient Express?
Music has been an enduring factor in Hannah's life. Both her mother and her father had musical ability, and their only child was encouraged to learn to play, which she did without difficulty. Hannah's mother, who was particularly talented, brought the organ to Low Birkhat, and until the instrument fell prey to the ravages of damp and rodents, Hannah played whenever she had the time from running the farm totally alone, an extremely punishing task in the depths of a winter in the Yorkshire Dales.
And you say you can't play, Hannah?
No.
Oh, boy.
Not used to the piano.
Thank you very much.
So this is the way to travel?
Yes, it's an out of this world, you know, a dream way to travel. It isn't many people. I wouldn't have been here, but for good fairies, good fortune and good fairies, and it isn't, you know, it's only a limited number of people who could afford to travel on it. But it is a lovely experience, a beautiful train, and the people there again, people might help a lot. The lovely people on the train, the staff as well as the other passengers.
What has been the worst part of the trip?
Oh, the weather, the cold and the rain, because I don't stand the cold very well, and no, that spoiled it, really.
And the worst place?
Oh, the Blue Grotto. The little boat in the Blue Grotto.
If you had to pick just one place to return to, which would it be?
Venice. I have suggested that I wouldn't mind just staying here and going back to Venice. I believe 5 o'clock the train goes back to Venice, but I think it's fallen on deaf ears. I haven't had any cooperation so far, except the nice people on the train said that they would be very pleased to have me.
Anyway, we're approaching Boulogne and the English Channel. In less than 2 hours, we'll be back home in England.
Yes.
What are your feelings?
Sorry, it's coming to an end. Thank you. Yes, thank you very much. Thank you. Oh, thank you ever so much.
See you again sometime.
Thank you. Yes, I hope so. All the best to yourself, and thank you for your kind attention. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. Goodbye. Goodbye. Thank you. Goodbye. Thank you. Goodbye.
Have a wonderful time, won't you?
Yes, thank you. We'll meet again someday. Thank you. In a way, it's nice to be home, but I didn't want it to finish. In fact, I would have stayed another 6 weeks. But maybe another day, I hope.